Okay, doing another live stream, and see, let me go ahead and make sure it's all working before I get into doing it. Okay, so my previous stream today, I was showing my new unbagged. It came in a little bag, not a box. Those three 3.5 millimeter to RCA audio cables, and I didn't give it much thought. Just setting, I wanted to test them, and I didn't give it much thought. I thought, well, all the different ways I've got to do it, it'd be easy. I didn't feel good today, and I wasn't thinking too good, but that's my excuse. But anyway, I kept thinking I couldn't get something that would work, and I just hemmed around. I had trouble with my lapel mic; it kept cutting in and out, and I didn't know it some of the time. Just when I thought it was okay, I was talking on it for a while and it wasn't working. So I'm just going to use the SM58. And that is I dug out, I knew I didn't have, I thought I might only have one of my CDs. I got a bunch of original, DVD burns of the recordings we did them in different things over the years. But so I dug out, this is my own music, I own the copyright, so I can play it. YouTube better not squawk me on this. I usually don't ever have. Recently, I played some little old stupid email forward that was on my website that I'd gotten years ago. Actually, it came up, and whoever owned the copyright, it didn't say that, I had to take it down or whatever. They just said they might put ads on my video. But it was a silly thing. It wasn't a song or anything either, But anyway, a silly, comical thing. But which I never figured anybody, but the one person who recorded it knew who did it, or that there was a copyright on it. So anyway, that I'm going to try. They got that button where take this off of your video. I want to try and do that, but I want to replace it with some audio explaining why it's blank there for a minute or so, if I can. I don't know if they have a way for you to do that, but I haven't had time to mess with that. But anyway, this is my. I can get it up here in this camera. I saw a while ago that the light was reflecting on it. And I've got stuff in front of my screen too, so I can't really even see what I'm doing very good. I guess if I move this stuff, then I'll be able to. But this is the it's not the end. I can't even find the one I released. Basically, the design that I released. The back's a little different in this one. And actually, this is basically the original, probably the only one that I've got left like this one. It's got one song on it. One song that me and Steve did some songs. Me and Steve and James did one song on this one, and then me and Marty did the rest. And anyway, me and Marty redid the one with James because James didn't want it released. He wasn't satisfied with his guitar playing. So a few years later, I had, it was in 05 when I brought that album out. That's when I actually released that song, I guess. Now I don't remember what songs are on what album, but anyway, I'm just going to play that first song. That's me and Marty, and I set it to repeat. If it gets to the end, it should repeat on the DVD player. And I'll play it for sound tests, doing the sound tests, and that way I can just let it play in the background, or it'll be the sound you hear, really, because with the noise gate and compressor I have set, it's going through my mixer, so it goes from the mixer to the V-amp. The V-amp has a noise gate and compressor and a little bit of reverb. It's really, for talking, you try to cut down on the reverb, but it's called reverb, but it's really a particular effects that cuts down on the reverb. So it's actually... won't hurt a thing for playing the music through it. Well, it kind of takes some of the life out of the music. Some songs anyway. Some depends on how it's recorded. But I'm not worried about that for a sound test. But the compressor, I had to turn the music up until where the compressor wouldn't clamp down on the quiet stuff. Knock it out, because it was doing that on. That's why I'm only going to repeat that song. Then the very next song, it just chops it up. So. Let me, let's see. I want to be able to show to show the desktop. Oh, I coughed so hard I forgot to. Sorry. I coughed and I moved the mic and then I forgot to bring it back. Tonight I have just been too tired and out of it to do anything right. I always mess up something though, don't I? Okay, so I want one in the desktop. That's what I'm trying to say here. Cam 1 and desktop. No, I don't want Cam 1 and desktop. Yeah, I do want Cam 1 and desktop. So why am I not seeing anything now? Oh, because I've got it covered up. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to, I didn't think it looked. Yeah, when you see the desktop, I'd rather you see the meter here that I'm going to be operating in than the extra picture of me. Yeah, that's what I want right there. I finally realized to go over there and look on my preview on YouTube and see what the heck I got going here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the monitor output on. Okay, well, let's turn it off until we get it plugged up. I've got it set on the mixer, so I'm going to leave it instead of turning it down and then bringing it back up like you should do. I'm going to just plug in these cables with it on, but I won't have it coming through the speakers until I'm ready to hear it. So you might hear a little pop, but it won't be a big deal because I'm not going to be plugging in. Well, see, I'm not plugging in 1/4 inch. You know, I'm not covering TRS or TS connectors. I'm just plugging in RCAs, and they just slide on. They don't click and make instant connections, you know, and all that. So this twisty is beginning to come all the way off, and I want to keep it. But what I got here, it's a 6-foot cable, RCA on one end, and 3.5 millimeter male on the other. And the only adapter I'm going to need in this case is what I usually use on my headphones. It's a, 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch TRS stereo. So let me get up there and plug it into let me plug it into the mixer and then I'll plug it in up there. That's what I've been doing. Well, no, let's do it the other way this time because we will have a click up there. So you shouldn't have. That's a good. I know that's a good connector. I use it on my headphones all the time. So, and I've already tested this several times to make sure I didn't go through an hour of trying to get it right, like I did last time. So, let's try and get them in the way I want them, left and right, the way I want them. I believe they're actually labeled. Yes, they are. And so now they're left and right. So because one of the things I want to do is pan and see. Yeah, we'll make sure which knob was pan. I don't see so great these days. So now I can pan and, left to right while testing the cable. And, even a brand new cable might have, it might not be so good. The wiring might be so good it might already be half broken inside. So if you wiggle it around and you lose connection, you got bad. It's not put together well. I don't know about I don't know if they even solder these ones that are all formed plastic like this, but or PVC or whatever it is. Check 1, 2. Okay. Now, turn on that music. And I won't talk much because you won't really be able to hear me unless I get up close to the mic and yell. So I'm just going to wiggle the cables and stuff. That's left, and I hear nothing. Teach me for you, oh my God, my Savior. Right, gets louder. My hope is in you. Remember, oh Lord, you. I'm gonna swap the cables and see if it's the cable or something else. Okay, now left is in the left. Okay, it's not the... Okay, so it's not, it's the pan and the board. I don't know if, seems like I haven't figured out there's a button. You have to have a certain way for that, and it works. If it works if the button's in one position, but it doesn't if it's not. And I don't remember right now, so I'm not going to worry about it. Because at first I thought, is my pan, you know, broken on my board that I just bought? Well, I don't know how, it might be a year old now, but anyway, left. Oh. Still playing, let's see. Okay, maybe it's my adapter. That would explain a lot. That other cable that I thought was bad. No, it's not plugged into that adapter. But I have another set right here that should be alright. Yeah, there are some variables here. Still yet. That's why I like to have a song playing and just let it play. Now let's see. No, it's not the adapter. Okay, right. Seems that the right connector is not working on the board. Well, that's a wonderful thing. Let's get so I'll get these other two because they were actually a little, not necessarily a good thing, but they're a little looser, and I can get the RCAs on and off of them a little easier. Left side's not working. Oh, I turned them down. It's not the cable. Oh, I know what it could be. That shouldn't matter. So I'm unplugging. No, right, left, right, left. It could be the cables going to the computer. It could be a connection to the computer. In you I trust, oh my God. Show me your ways, oh Lord, teach me your paths. God. Well, let's go back to the one I was wanting to use in the first place. Turn it off. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's put this on the right. We'll put the left cable in it. Okay, now. We know it works. We'll put it up here in the left. Okay, so maybe I do have bad adapters. It's board's not wired the way I thought it was. Let me get over here and look at the board. Maybe I just misunderstood things. Well, left is mono, and it's balanced or unbalanced, that's what I thought. And, but you should have, when you have them both plugged in, for all rights and purposes, you should have signal on both of them. But we don't. So, I'm not sure. Let me make sure we'll see what's, I don't know, I'd have to trace let me, we got nothing, are we still playing? Yeah, we're still playing music. Okay, so when we have the right one plugged in, it's like it mutes the left one. Let's plug the left one in, check the cables, output, make sure they're not backwards. If you have them the polarity wrong, you can get some problems. That's the input. I was wiggling around. There's the output. Okay, so I didn't lose our mic at least. Yeah, for the mic, it could be what the VAmp's doing to it through the signal processor. No, because it's in the board. So again, something that should be simple. I've never messed with trying to play music through the board. Well, yes, I did. I recorded to the computer. That worked. And I use this channel. The left one doesn't work when it's something in the right one. Okay. I'm going to use 2 channels. I have 2 channels. Okay, so we'll just say, wait. Well, yeah, if it's going to be mono, it needs to be like that. Both in the left.
Remember not the sins of my youth and my rebellious ways. According to your law, remember.
Still doing the same thing. When you go to the left, you get hardly nothing.
For you are good, oh Lord. According to your.
I'm panning both of them to the left. That's both to the left. Then I'll go both to the right. Oh, that knocks that one out. Still does the same thing even when I wire them that way.
Teach me, for you are my God, my Savior, and all my hope is in. According to your love, remember me, for you are good.
something wrong with the cable, maybe. Let's see. Put them in different channels. Since those are really loose. One of them's really loose. It shouldn't make any real difference. Sometimes, let's see. Maybe you shouldn't go all the way in. No, that doesn't work. Yeah.
Guide me in your truth. Teach me, oh my God, my Savior, and all my hope is in you. Your great mercy and love, for they
It's when there's something to do with the board, because so when I take that one out of there, then the left one starts working. So it's on my cable here on the back of the computer. When you plug that one in, mixer.
according to your love, remember me, for you are good, oh Lord. According to your love, remember me, for you are good, oh Lord.
Cable seems alright. Okay, so that's on the left.
For you are good, oh Lord. Show me your ways, oh Lord, teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth. Teach me, for you are my God, my Savior, and all my hope is in you. According to your love, remember.
So I'm gonna put them in the aux returns and see what happens.
According to your love.
Whoa, that's what happens. Shouldn't have been loud like that because they're turned down. Yeah, the balance, I just realized the balance wouldn't do anything when they're in two separate channels, except for make it up and down. I put them in the right size, so it makes sense that when you go left, you get almost nothing. And it's like when you go hard right. Of course, that's why I put one in left and one right.
Lord, I lift up my soul.
Doesn't work.
In you I trust, oh my God.
Yeah, if I go hard left on both of them, we get nothing. So that didn't work.
Guide me
If you put something in both channels, the mono signal anyway, I didn't know you could do stereo or mono. That's interesting. Okay, so that's the left is a little quieter. Which is common with cassette. This was tired of that song yet? I'm starting to get tired of it. Of course, I've heard it for many years. We recorded this, bouncing it. Me and Marty playing all the instruments, me singing, and I wrote the lyrics. Well, this is I heard a tune to some Psalms or Proverbs. Psalms. I think now I can't even remember which one it is. But anyway, I kind of sang that tune to Marty, and that's what he came up with. He's awesome. But he had a recording studio in his house, and we bounced it back and forth between a 2-track DAT and a cassette, a high-quality cassette tape. That's how we built up all the tracks, track bouncing. That's how we did it in 1992. That's how we did it. Actually, that was considered the old way to do it in 1992 with 4 tracks and 2 tracks and stuff like that. But he had a 8-track, I think, analog tape, but it was in a shop or something. Cut it in and out a little bit. I heard it crackling and cutting in and out, but they're both there now. I would say the cable's okay, though. I have it set at the same level. Mixer, of course, as we were listening, you could kind of, well, pan it like that. You're generally going to get. I'm going to stop it now and change cables. I'm going to have to go looking in my manual, but I thought that would be good that those were, actually, I think you plug in it, that one's a little tighter. Let's see. That one's pretty loose. They're all getting looser. It's just these. Yeah, that one's, they're all right. They're just about right, really. They're not too loose and not too tight. For RCAs, so that's a pretty loose one. It's the adapters. So I'll get the ones that are kind of the tightest. Oh, they're different sizes. So I've kind of kept them as sets. Helps them keep together, I guess. They're fine. They're not loose enough to cause trouble. Okay, so I'm going to get this another cable out. Still can't get over these cables. Twist ties being twisted backwards. We righty tighty, lefty loosey. That's the way we do it. That's not how they do it. A lot of people, let's just say, in other places. All right. Now should have the, excuse me, the same thing. I'll wiggle the cables and stuff. Okay, so, you know, testing the cables, it shouldn't take too long. That's good enough. No place to pan to with them in two separate channels. And, you know, now, if they were mono channels, then you could, you know, I could put one here and one here and then pan right, pan left. Well, actually, you should be able to do that in these. I should be able to pan one more to hard right and one hard left and get a real defined stereo out of it, separation out of it. But I'm worried now that there's something not right in my mixer. I thought that everything was fine because I had used this either 3.4 or 5.8. I don't remember which one, to mix down several cassettes, or what was one long cassette. Anyway, I was putting it on CD, or putting it on the computer for my friend to put it on CD for somebody. Check the wiggle test.
Remember, oh Lord, your great mercy and love, for they have been from above.
I heard a little bit out of that. Wiggle it harder than that too. Hard left. Actually, you should be able to pan this one left and the different one. Usually I don't go for about 3 o'clock. See how much quieter the left one is?
According to your love, remember me, for you are good, oh Lord.
Well, that's kind of the thing. Now I could have gained the channel even. Set of adapters, make sure there's not any difference with them. Oddly, I have those in the right instead of the left mono. Let's see what... I thought that was going to work better for some reason. Now let's see. See how even that is. If you pan on it, it misses it up. Okay, now leave them in the left and let it start up.
To you, oh Lord, I lift up my soul. In you I trust, oh my God. Show me your ways, oh Lord, teach me your paths. Guide me in your truth. Teach me for you, oh my God, my Savior, and all my hope is in you. Remember, oh Lord, your great mercy.
I don't know what's going on unless I'm monitoring. Okay, so these actually want to be, this didn't matter which cable. Let me get it unplugged. I just want one set of cables to be, I think that'll be the ones I use, to be the output through the control room to go to the headset. What do we got here? Oh, they have adapters on them too. Okay. Now I'm wondering though if it's not the mixer causing trouble. Let's find out. Yeah, I'll just listen to it. I was trying to think, is there some way I can make this... If I try to make the control room go back to the computer, then it gets to be noisy. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just going to plug this up the way I normally would. And I don't need a double view of that, do I? Since I'm not over there. I forgot where I was on the cam settings there. Okay, so I'm going to plug my headset into that. I think I'll put them over that way there. I think that's probably better. I don't want them hitting my knobs on my mixer and turning them by accident. Yeah, now I can plug those headphones in. You know, I guess I need to get, if I want to play any music or any, well, I don't have to have music. I can listen to my own voice. That'll be fun. Okay. Yeah, so now I've got my headset. Got my headset wired in. See, I still have to, no, I don't need the audio, the advanced audio settings on anymore. Okay. Turn them off now. So I've got this, I've got a female to female adapter going from one of my brand new cables to my headset. And I should be able to just hear myself when I turn up the control room. I should be able to hear it quite well. Let's see. Yeah. Check 1, 2. Check, 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 check. Check. See, is that in the control room? Yeah. Oh. Huh. Can't hear it at all. Check 1, 2. Right, cable. Unless there's something wrong here. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Let me see. No, I'm not. See, I used to do it differently. I used to come out of the phones on the V-amp back into the tape input, and then I had to punch in tape to control room, then turn up the control room. But oh, that's why the aux is so loud. I've got it at Unity. Thought there's some. There's another knob up there for the aux return. That's why it was so freaking loud. It shouldn't be up like that, if ever, really. I probably should, yeah, I should be able to plug, music into there and then bring it up on each channel. I probably just don't need it just down real low and then bring it up on each channel. Unless this is only a send volume, it could, instead of being the, actually I think that is a send volume, send it out from the channel and how high the signal is going out to an effects unit. So you could send it out to the V-amp. You could send the aux send, but it's only mono. You could send it to the V-amp, and then the outputs of the V-amp could go back into the aux return. But the reason I don't do that is because then you have a wet and a dry signal. You can bring up the wet signal. That's what the effects. Well, you'd use the effects send to raise and lower the volume. You can do that. I mean, but I don't know. Some mixers have pre and post fader, and these would be considered the faders, the levels. And some don't. And this one, I'm not sure if this is the effects. I think it just says effects. I don't think it says send. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a volume for the return or for the send on the effects. It just says FX on it. But anyway, I didn't want to always have the dry and the wet signal. I want a completely, because of compressor and noise gate, you're defeating the purpose of the compressor and the noise gate if you've got a dry signal going to your computer to record the sound. So it's great with live sound. It's fine. Well, and generally you have a compressor. Like if you got one compressor only, put it on your main output and compress everything, noise gate and compressor. I've done that. The only other alternative would be like if you have one vocalist and they're really, really loud and you just want to compress them and just let everything else just, use what you got in the mixer to do the rest. But you're going to always be fighting. If it's any kind of a loud band at all, you're going to be fighting distortion and overdriving and everything. If you don't have at least some compression on the, you can set the levels so it doesn't overdrive the channels too badly. But then the main output, daisy chain it between the output and your going to your snake going to your speakers with a compressor and a noise gate and hopefully an EQ, a 32 third octave EQ, and at least 16 band. But anyway, I digress. I should be hearing myself in my headphones, and I'm not. Let me get up here to where I can see it again. Evidently, that does not work the way I thought it did. Either that or this cable, just because it's 6 feet long, has enough resistance in it for that not to work. So let's get it out of the mix, and let's use the one I've been using. The reason I wanted to replace it, let's see. Well, actually, I have, that's the cassette. Where is it? Yeah, there's a couple of adapters still on this one. Those are tied on there. I think it's the RCAs that I'm using. Okay, let's see if... let's hook it up to my... It was working, but it was only working on one side most of the time. I wiggle around on the cable and it would start working. Check 1, 2... Oh, I don't have it. Check 1, 2. It's not working. Check 1, 2. I think it's just a really low volume. Check 1, 2. Huh. Let's see. It doesn't really. I thought that it worked, but it wasn't quite as loud. Wasn't quite as loud as the check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Yeah, now I hear it just faintly. Now, if I do control room to mains, yeah, it will feed back. So let's get that one off there again. Leave those ones that I had on there. It could be this here. I have some more of these. That's true. Let me just get another one and try it out. 'Cause that could be it. Yeah, it was that cable fits tighter on there. And the reason I'm using that's the easiest way I've got to adapt. I mean, I don't want to buy really short ones, and then they're only good for, that. I'd rather have them be a little long, just as long as they're not long enough to get pick up a radio station. That used to be the problem. It's probably worse now than ever if you don't have enough shielding. That used to be the problem with RCAs. These cheap, actually, I gotta say one thing: these cheap RCAs and 3.5 millimeter adapters and stuff, they seem to be shielded better than they were back in the early 90s and stuff. I thought I had another one of those metal ones in here. I don't see it. Really did think I had one. All kinds of stuff in here, but I don't see another female to female. Somewhere, I thought I had I guess those are, oh, there's one down in the bottom. That's just 3.5 millimeter male to 2 females. It's just for using 2 headphones. I've got that in there. That won't help me on the board here. Well, let me just plug this together. I think I have some more stuff over there in my cable box over there. I used to keep it in the garage, but I started leaving it in here so I could get to stuff easier. But check 1, 2, check. Yeah, it's there. It's just really faint. Check. It's so faint you can't really tell it's on. I don't know why. Other day I was using it like this. I swear, maybe I was going out of here and in here. That amplifies it, through the V amp. The main output goes to the V amp, and then there's in here, and then there's the line out which goes back to my computer, and then there's the phones out down here, which I was bringing back into the tape and put on the mixer, and then I'd press tape to control room, and then out to control room to my earphone. Then I hear the process signal. That's what I had been doing, but I started noticing it was making noise in my whole signal, and so I quit doing it. That, and I realized that, the other day I plugged in a cable going, no, that's the cassette. Somewhere, oh, here it is down here. Forget how I did it now, but anyway, I had a cable going. Oh, I guess I plugged this. That's what I did. I plugged this into the phones, the one that was always in there before anyway, but I put them together with a couple of female RCA to RCA, and that sent it on over to the other computer, Mom's. And so I was able to have a simultaneous signal. It worked good. It sounded good. Going one to mine and one to hers. But going through the board, it made noise. So it didn't sound like feedback, but it was some funky noise, and I think maybe it was a type of feedback. So now I can just plug my headphones into the control room out. May just be kind of noisy on this thing, period. I thought that was the best way to do it, but if all you want is headphones, then maybe all you really ought to do is just headphones. There we go. Check 1, 2, check. Yeah, that works just fine. Check. But that doesn't tell me what the signal sounds like coming out of one that was on that other one. I think I kind of liked those two in there. Okay, and then the other two seemed fine. Check 1, 2, check, check. Now I can do that. I think it'll be too loud for me. Yeah, there's one problem. Get close to the mic. Check, check. Yeah, you can't change the, separate the volumes any way that I know of. So it's just too, I can't use it. It blows my head off. So I can check a signal, just check for signal like that, but I can't. You know, I swear, just a few days ago, I was using that control room out. Maybe I was doing it, like I said, through the, going back through from here to the mixer. Still don't know if this, I still haven't decided for sure if this cable's any good. This short one. Okay, I'm going to get it out of there because I really think there is a problem with it. I think it's not up here at this end like I kind of thought before, but I think it's right here where as big and heavy it is, you'd think it would last a long time, but it doesn't mean that the wires inside are very big and very strong. Anyway, I think that's where the problem is, because when I wiggled it there earlier, I was hearing a little noise. But, and then again, like I said, I've got a big bad surprise. I'm worried that, I don't know, I'm still thinking about the whole mixer itself. Why it's doing what I don't expect. Yeah, when I plugged in this one, it was cutting out the left one, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. That rule, and it's supposed to be stereo channels. See, you're supposed to have a right and a left. And if you were going to do what it says up there, mono, you know, left, right, and left is mono. And yeah, I mean, you can still do that, do it like that. But it still doesn't seem to be acting right. Maybe I've gotten mixed up about how panning. Well, you really only get the panning does work in a mono channel. I mean, you can send it to the right or the left, but I always leave them in the center. It does work if you have a bunch of mics, whether they be instruments or voices or whatever. You can. What we used to do when we were mixing live, even though you were mixing in mono, it still made a difference. We would pan all the vocals to the center, and then the instruments, we would do the guitars, like one guitar a little bit to the right and one guitar a little bit to the left, and the bass one side or the other. And I still don't understand how that worked in a mono setup, but I swear you could tell it would actually move it right and left, even though you weren't using stereo amp, you know, amping, you weren't do stereo amping. But anyway, we used to do that, and you think about, now I'm thinking about it, I was like, all we did was just decrease the volume a little bit. But no, it did move it. It would help you. Well, here's what I would do. If the bass player was on the left side, I would pan him over to the right a little bit. You know, and like the lead guitar, and he was on the right, I'd pan him to the left a little bit, like that, you know. And it's at least, I swear, it made the mix more even in the room, in the back. You know, if you're up there by the stage, you're going to hear the stage amp mostly anyway. If the speakers are up in the ceiling anyway. Well, even, and if there's down on the floor to your right and left, if you're in the very center and you get right up on the stage, then you're mostly going to hear the stage monitors, you know. But anyway, and if it's loud enough, it don't matter where you are, your head's getting blown off. Except for right there in front of the speakers, you're really going to get your head blown off. I used to know people that just wanted to get 6 inches from the speaker and just bang their head the whole time, you know. But I couldn't stand it that long, and I loved loud music, and I liked mixing. But I am just completely bumfuzzled about that mixer not doing what it should. I want to try it again, but I don't know if there's any sense in it. Let me do a different cable. That's the last one. Let me get up there and look at it again real good. Well, I just thought of one thing. Since this is not I'm used to mono channels. These are stereo channels, and I mean I mixed with a few Behringers with stereo channels like this, but a Mackey's which I used most of the time. They had all mono channels, and so I usually use the last 2 or last 4 channels on the board for my tape decks, CDs, or whatever. And so since this is stereo, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, if you pan right, you should be getting number 6. If you pan left, you should be getting channel 5, which they ought to be numbered, but they're right and left. They're not 5 and 6, I guess that's how it is, like 3 left, 4 right. That's what I thought, and that's why I did that. But when I staggered them, it didn't work like expected. So you either put them both in left or both in right. And when you plug in at least with monos, if you plug in a left and a right, you're killing the left channel. Doesn't make sense. I don't think I have a. Trying to think. Now this is a stereo. Could be a stereo. Yeah, it could be the other ends are RCAs. I'd have to run that over to the tape deck. I can't remember how I had it all set up. Well, yes, I do remember. I had left and right on either this channel or this one, either 3 and 4 or 5 and 6 in the cassette, and it worked coming out of the cassette deck. That's why I'm really completely, and I have a manual for this thing. I could look in it, and I may, but I just can't get over it doing exactly not what I'm expecting it to do. And I don't have a loose anyway good. I mean, I have at least one more good 3.5 millimeter to RCA, but it's not. It's hooked up. It's what's going going to the speakers, going from this computer to the speakers. So if I hook this up again like I had it, and get it hooked up. Okay, but I remember now what I was going to do. I'm going to use the aux returns, not a channel. Okay, now I'll start my music again and bring it up a little at a time. Let's see if it may be such a strong signal. Sometimes when a signal's too strong, you can't turn it off. And this could be the case, but no, I think it's already playing now. I just had it up at Unity. Oh, I don't have it where I can hear it. So I want one in the desktop, I guess, yeah. Now let's get the deal turned on. And which one is it? Next to the bottom one. Okay, now. Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Sins of my youth and my rebellious ways, according to your law.
Same thing. You don't have anything on the left. Let's see. But you got it on the right. Left is not working. Left on the right. Right. I don't understand that. Make sure it's not got something to do with having these other ones plugged in. It's not one of those deals where you plug them in halfway, no. See if I unplug that one. Yep. So I don't understand that. I'm going to have to look, see if there's something wrong with this board. Tries to work. That's plugged in halfway. It's not going to be usable, but... Okay, that's left. It's both of them with me holding. That was with me holding it. It's halfway in and I was holding it over to one side to make it get a connection. It doesn't matter which set of adapters I use. If I plug it in all the way, then I don't get left. If I plug both those adapters in all the way, I don't get left. But I get right. Now right will work plugged in halfway. That used to be a thing we had to do on the old mixers. Is if you had a mono connector, you had to plug them in halfway. They stayed better, like a real insert cable. Well. Found something in the floor. There's tape off of here. So what I discovered is you can do 2 channels. That's the only way it really works right. Okay, that's not at all how I thought this thing worked. And that's not how I've had it wired for a long time either. Let's see. I don't really need to leave the cassette that wired. I should just label those and not leave them wired. I wonder if my headphones would actually work if I don't use left or right. I wonder if that's the reason they did work, is because it was a bad channel on that cable. How funny. Let's try them again, one per side. So I've got it back, hooked up, daisy chained together. Okay, now I'll put my headset on, and I'll try hooking up one side at a time into the. I'll just do left and see if it works. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Can't hear it. Check 1, 2. Okay, let's try a different one of these. Check 1, 2. So that check 1, check. Okay, I got right. Check, check, check. It's not very loud, and it's up all the way. Check, check, check. Check. Then that could be this thing. Could be this adapter. I keep forgetting that that's very possible. You'd think just because it's tough looking it wouldn't go out, but everything goes out. So I need to get another. I need to go over here and get one out of my case. Let's see. Okay, let's just get this up out of the way for now. Oh, there's the adapter. This is the one that might not be any good. So I'll put it up there. Let me go get one. Well, this is not what I want. I expected the testing cables would be 10 minutes. I mean, even if I was really, really wrong, it could have been 30 minutes to an hour, but that's all I've done tonight. Messed around with it with a couple of hours and couldn't even figure out how to get something that would work, to play sound through the... Let's see, now here's 2 more of those metal ones. I'll just get one at a time. See, there's a assortment of adapters I have there. And I know I have another one that's a plastic one. I may have it in use. I don't know where, really. Of course, some of them are over here in that little blue box, and some of them are in use. They're on the desk. But I've got quite a lot. And then I have some short adapter cables but I wasn't looking for that right now. So. Well, let's see if this makes any difference. Put this. They sure hold on good. That's what I like about it. Like that about them. You can put these on there and they won't come off. They can throw them around on the floor or whatever. And of course, if you did well, I mean, this part would break, but the metal part wouldn't. And if you got them hanging off your pants, they're pretty heavy. But if you need them to drag, like what I like is like right here, they pull that cable on down to the floor, and it doesn't hang up on stuff. So we'll put it back in the control room. And I mean, the control room's not meant for headphones. It's meant to just send a line level signal to the control room. Really, I would. I was in live sound. I wasn't where there was a control room very often. I did work on some cable TV shows, and that would be what it would be. To go back to the control room to monitor, or even to record maybe the audio, if you have a good quality control room sound anyway. Okay, so let's see, check. Oh, it's already up all the way and I can't hear it. Yeah, that's bad when you forget that and you blow your head off. Let's see, I keep wanting to press that phantom power button, but that doesn't help. That's for mics that need phantom power. So it doesn't work on that cable. I think it's just too long of a cable for that weak signal to go down, you know. Because the longer the cable, the more signal degradation you get. So that short one that's been on there, even though I think it does have not a short, but an open in it. So I'd say a short in it just because it, you know, this would be funny. It's not a short. It's an open. Okay, so hook it up, plug it in, and it's up all the way again. But check 1 2, check 1 2, check, yeah, check. I can just tell that there's something on it when I do that. Check. Just I can tell it's actually coming out of both sides too. It's hard to tell about this cable. I'm going to leave it separate though and put these adapters. Got 4 that aren't even plugged in now. Was keeping them in there. But yeah, so now I really just, since I don't want to wire that back to the board, the mixer from the V-amp anymore, because it was really causing trouble in my recordings once in a while. Most of the time it was fine, but sometimes it would just start making noise back through there. So yeah, I didn't think there was really anything wrong with that adapter, but it does feel a little different when you plug it in, but I think I'll leave it out. I have one more, but I'm starting to remember that's how it's always acted. The reason I was like, why can't I hear it? And I'm so puzzled is because I was used to using it coming out of the VM, back into the tapes, and then back out through control room by punching control room out. Now I can hear it's the same knob. That's one reason why it's confusing, because you still use the same knob. Check 1 2, check. It just depends on, now I can hear me really well. It's not very loud, but I can hear me well. Just won't blow my head off. But I can use my headphones, but that tells me I have a signal on the board. It doesn't tell me what's going on out here. And of course, to set this up, you need to hear what's coming out of this. So that's why I didn't use the headphone output. And this one, yeah, that one goes around to the other computer right now. It could just go, well, I had it going back to this board. But yeah, you can do all kinds of things. You can do almost whatever you can dream up if you have enough adapters. But let's just leave that. I started to wind it up the way I keep it, but let's leave that for now. I might pick them up again in a minute. Okay, I'm already needing another break again. Oh, it's not already. It's I'm doing this forever again. I know my sound is probably going in and out because I'm moving so much. But my lapel mics are on the blink. I almost ordered and I knew I was having some trouble sometimes, and I don't think it's necessarily the sound card, the USB sound card. I think it's just the way USB is just kind of wonky. It always has been. It'll kind of work and not work, And if the machine gets overwhelmed, I'll figure that out. Like when I'm using the endoscope camera and my USB sound card at the same time, after no, hour, 2 hours. So the computer really gets to it's getting like it's cache full or whatever, and it's just not. One time it almost completely locked up on me. It did kill my stream and everything, and I had to. I don't remember if I had to hard shut it down or what, but earlier I did 2 hours with them both plugged in, and then I decided, well, I'll unplug. I decided to unplug the endoscope to plug in another USB sound cord. Well, that's when my sound went nuts, and I think unplugging that endoscope camera with OBS running maybe caused some crazy things on the computer, on the software. It's fine if OBS is not running, I think, but maybe OBS still looking for it. It could be just causing all kinds of things happening, you know. But when I plugged in that other USB to that same port, it didn't work at all, and it was just a minute before that working in the Dell 6000 laptop. So I'm getting tired for sure now. I already ate supper a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours ago. There's a video I really want to make tonight and about computers, and I got all in a mess with this. I think I'm going to end it. It's almost 2 now. I think I'm going to. I haven't had a bath. Yeah, I'm going to round up here in a minute, and I'm just going to have to quit. I'm going to go get a bath and get in bed. I don't want to. What's the point in staying up till sun up? You know, I'm still not all that with it, and I'm probably just a new package of cables, and just in case. OBS is disconnected and reconnecting. I didn't ever see it go yellow or green. Yep, red. My stream shows green when I glanced. OBS said it reconnected, and I think everything's fine because I still see me over there. But I never saw the stream go bad or anything. Okay, so I'm still there. I've seen that happen recently before. I had seen it happen 2 or 3 times in one video. But yeah, anyway, I was more out of it than I thought. I thought it'd be easier to test the cables and stuff. It wasn't easier. It turned out to be, because I really actually needed to think straight. It's really, I used to do it so much I thought it was easy, but, you know, changing and rerouting stuff in a mixer. And I get the, you know, I get the idea, this is such a small mixer, oh, it's easy. But really, all the things you're doing, you know, the aux and the ins and outs, those are pretty much the same. It's just that you got a lot more channels on a bigger mixer, especially a Behringer. And like I said, I've mostly used Mackeys, but this is, well, the Behringers I used did have sliders, and that's one thing that still kind of throws me off. It just makes everything seem different. I mean, well, mostly just in like talking about it, but anyway. I didn't say that a minute ago, but when I had the aux input working, well, one bad thing is if I plugged in a mono in the left and the right, I was only getting the right. So, and like I said, well, I actually got them both to work by plugging in the right one halfway and the left one all the way. So, yeah, that's what's making me go, well, what about a stereo cable? How could I do something like that? So what I'm guessing is, yeah, it says mono on the left and then stereo, I guess, on the right. Oh, it says balanced or unbalanced, and it just says mono up by the left. So, but now I realize if I want left and right monos, I need to use 2 separate channels, which I have, you know, the room to do it. I'm only using one mic, so that's why I'm leaving my adapters like that. But on the aux return, it didn't work like expected. It does. You do a left and right, it doesn't work. So either there's something wrong with this board, or I don't get. I'm not getting what I'm seeing on the front of it. But that's why I thought, well, okay, can I send a? Can't. Well, the other cable I ordered would do it. See, I might have one. Like I said, though, I'm getting where I need to quit anyway. But what I could do is use well, I'd have to have. I've got more of these, but you know, I could use a 3.5 millimeter male to male, which I ordered a 10-foot one, and when I test it, maybe I'll do that. I can come out of the earphone with 2 of these adapters, one on each end, and then go in to each channel and see if I get stereo out of them, you know. Yeah, that's what I can do. I'll just wait till I get the new cable because I'm going to want to test it. I have a cable that's male on one end and female on the other, and I'd have to mess around with the different adapters to do that. But let's see. I'm going to get on the desktop and see if I have that manual. I might have it in my documents because I haven't had it very long. It may be on this computer here, or it should be in my backups if not. But yeah, Behringer Xenyx 802 manual. There it is right there. Yeah, it's opening up. Okay. 502, 802, 102, and 1202. All of them. Okay. Important notes. What's all that? Oh, safety. Mono channels, stereo channels. Okay, let's see. It's pretty small, but let's see. 802, 102. Okay. Yeah, pan FX. I'm going to have to make it big enough to read it. FX sends, let's see, FX, that's what I was talking about. Pan, that's what I was talking about. And then, of course, the level, which is the, what would be a slider on a mixer with the sliders. Not to be mixed up with, not to be confused with the TV show sliders. Okay, which I really liked. Okay, actually, let's just go straight to the, okay, here we go. Stereo line inputs, left, right. See, mono, balanced or unbalanced right there. Each channel has two balanced line level inputs on 1/4-inch jacks for left and right channels. If only the jack marked left is used, the channel operates in mono. Okay. The stereo channels are designed to handle typical line level signals. Both inputs will also accept unbalanced jacks. It should work, what I see. Should have worked the way I did it. And if there was something to do, I did try switching them there at the beginning, you know, like if there was, just because your cables are marked one way doesn't mean, well, if I don't have anything else in there, it shouldn't pop, well, except for the main outputs, yeah. But I wasn't coming from the computer, I was coming from the CD. But like if you were coming out of the computer into the mixer, well, you'd probably end up with a feedback loop, but polarity, you got to watch polarity. So sometimes you might actually swap the, you know, the ones that are red and gray or red and white because the cables aren't polarized the same. One brand's not polarized the same as the other, even though they're marked. Sometimes they'll say left and right, but they're wrong. They're opposite, you know. Even though they work fine, you just got to learn to swap them. With these, especially with these cheap cables. I've seen it happen sometimes with the expensive ones too. But yeah, it should do what I was expecting it to do, but it doesn't. So I may have to go do some research. I might have a fault in this thing. I don't think it used to do that. I sure hope something hasn't gone wrong with it. It sounds fine. I mean, otherwise, just using my mic and everything. That's all I usually use on it. But seems like my preview. I guess that's best anyway. Oh, it's on auto. Yeah, it's on auto. You know, displays. DPI or whatever. Can't even say the right word. It's on 144 instead of even, you know, not even 320 or 720. Like my desktop is 1080p, but my cameras are 720p. That's how come I can stack them right to left. They fit in the 1080p. But I do it because I'm streaming over Wi-Fi, and my cameras just can't stream that much data. I think my routers should be able to handle it, maybe, but because they're gigabit routers. Well, I'm only using a gigabit router and a gigabit switch right now, but it's going over the Wi-Fi, so the switch is not relevant. But that should work the way I expected it. I should be able to put left in one side, you know, left and left, right and right, and it should work. But it didn't. It was killing it. When I put in the right, it was killing the left. And yeah, there's not anything, there's no buttons to punch in or anything, nothing that should make any difference in that. Let's see. And I'm not using the EQ on the board. I'm using EQ through the Behringer VM. Keep it simple that way. I could, if I was using more than one mic and one of them sounded different through the VM, then I could tweak each one separately if I wanted to. But I like the way the 58 is. I just left it flat on the 58 and then set my EQs and my everything on the VM. Say if I did plug my lapel, I was thinking about buying an adapter that allowed me to plug my lapels into the mixer. That's one adapter I don't have. It'll make those work because they start out TRS and then they need, anyway. I won't go into that again. But yeah, I might be able to say I put it on this. There's EQs on the 3 and 4, 5, and 6 as well, but they're looking for a line level signal. I figured lapel would work because it's a high impedance and it's got a hotter signal than a low impedance mic. But there is another mic channel that I'm not using, and I would probably plug it in there. And then if I did need to EQ it some, I could. And I'll have gain and level on it instead of just level. Let's see. And then FX sends or aux sends enable you to feed signals via. Okay, what I want to know is what does the FX knob do? I won't read it all out loud. Let's see. Okay, maybe see. Let me go ahead and read it. FX sends or aux sends enable you to feed signals via the variable control from one or more channels and sum these signals to a bus. The bus appears at the console's FX send output and can be fed from there. And that's the one I said was mono, to external effects device like the Behringer, but I'm not doing it that way. Return from the effects unit, then brought back into the console on the aux return connections. 802 or normal channel inputs on each FX 802 or normal channel inputs. Each FX send is mono and features up to 15 dB gain. Okay, so yeah, the gain is on the send then. Yeah. I thought it might be the way after looking at the board. As the name suggests, FX sends of the Xenyx mixing console are intended to drive effects devices, reverb, delay, etc., and are therefore configured post-fader. Yeah. This means that the mix between the dry signal and the effect remains at the level determined by the channel's aux send. This means that the mix between dry. Now, see other bigger mixers, you can punch in a button pre and post and pre-fader, post-fader, and all that. You can do it the way you want to. But this one, it is, therefore the configurator is post-fader, so it's after the fader. This means that the mix between the dry signal and effect remains at the level determined. This means that the mix between the dry signal, that's just the channel, and the effect remains at the level determined by the channel's aux send. Oh, okay, so you're not, of course you can send more or less with the FX send. You can send more or less of the dry channel to it, but you can't, but the return volume is going to be affected by the aux send. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Means that the mix between the dry signal and effect remains at the level determined by the channel's aux send. They keep swapping words. On the channel, it says FX on the little knob, and then on the it says FX send on the output, which should be aux send, and then it's aux return, which is normal. That's what they normally put on mixers. And then, well, usually they put aux instead of FX. So the knob says FX. So jumping back and forth between terminology just really confuses the heck out of me. And I'm not good at, I can't be honest, I'm not good at reading. Not good at reading aloud, and I'm not good at reading these detailed instructions, especially when I'm tired. I can figure it out by doing it, but I mean, you have to read them, right? But well, I read them to myself and then do it, and then I figure it out. But reading them out loud makes it even harder, I think. Anyway, let me do this one more time. Sometimes reading out loud actually helps. I'm just crazy. Okay, so as the name suggests, the FX sends of the Xenyx mixing console are intended to drive effects devices, reverb, delay, etc., and are therefore configured post-fader. This means that the mix between the dry signal and an effect remains at the level determined by the channel's aux send. The channel's aux send. Okay, that's the FX knob. Irrespective of the channel's fader settings. Okay, so no matter where your fader is, that's not going to go up and down with the fader. Okay. If this were not the case, the effect signal of the channel would remain audible even when the fader is lowered to 0. We'll wait. The dry signal effect remains at the level now they use the common term fader, see? Okay. They're just jumping back and forth between the common terminology, but they're not sticking with the one that goes with the board. Of course, they're talking about several different boards, and some of those other boards do have faders on them, but still. Just need to write a manual for each board, I think. Okay, I'll try this little sentence one more time, this run-on sentence. That's a whole sentence. Oh, no, it's 2 sentences. Okay. Still kind of a, well, I do that all the time. Let me read it to myself. It's saying the opposite of what they're saying the results would be. That's what it sounds to me like. That's why I'm going, what? Okay, this means, okay, they are post-fader. Okay, so the effects are after the fader. So this means that the mix between, let's see, and of course I'm having trouble remembering from my olden days too. It hasn't been 20 years, just about, well, 19 years since I mixed a show. 2000, I think, was the last show I mixed. No, it was 01, 18 years. Okay. So this means that the mix between the dry signal and the effect remains at the level determined by the channel's aux and irrespective channel fader setting. Until so if it stays the same no matter where you put the channel fader, then if you bring the channel fader down, it should stay up, which you wouldn't want. But they're saying, no, this means that it, maybe I don't understand it, but if this were not the case, the effect signal on the channel would remain. But it does say, one thing that does clue me in that makes it sound like it's going to work like you would want it to, it is post-fader. It's after the fader, so if you turn the fader up, it gets louder. If you turn it down, it gets quieter, along with the fader. If it was pre-fader, then, you know, it would be there no matter whether you brought the fader up or down or not. I know that from actual practice. So, and I'm playing, you know, I had to learn how to use the post and pre buttons and what might be good and what I might want, what I might not want too, you know. Okay, so I'm too tired to go on and on again. Pan control, what I was trying to get it to happen that wasn't happening. Determines the position of the channel signal within the 0 image. What? The pan control determines the position of the channel signal within the stereo image. This control features a constant power characteristic, which means that the signal is always maintained at a constant level irrespective of the position of the stereo panorama. Well, that's a lot of fancy words to say not much of nothing. Um, it sounds like it might have some electronics in it that regular old pan, didn't have. I do know one thing: if I pan it to the left, it goes down to nothing. If I pan it to the right, it gets louder. It's acting like a fader on this darn board, and that means there's something not acting right. Because what it should do is, well, you should be able to hear the left speaker come up and get a little bit louder, not a lot, but just if you go all the way to hard left, it should get a little louder than it was in the middle. Of course, it's hard to tell because when you hear them both. And if you pan it to the right, then it should, go right. Now, there's one thing to consider. What if my speakers aren't working right or something? And it was all fooling me. But there was one point where I was going over towards, the middle of the room, and I could hear the left speaker really well. See, I'm right here next to the right speaker. But, and sometimes, depending on, okay, I'm looking at the computer screen, and I like to set things up so that when I'm looking at the computer screen, it's right, right is right and left is left. But some of the things like the TV and stuff, you want it just the opposite. So over the time, I did sometimes wire things, opposite of each other. I finally realized I need to stick with one, one way or the other. So what I believe I have going right now is if I'm looking at the computer screen, then right is on my right and left is on my left. That's the way I use the sound system the most anyway. When originally I mostly used it for watching TV, and that would be just the opposite. I'd be sitting over on the bed, and it would be just the opposite. I would be facing the opposite direction that I am right now. But let me see. Yeah, the only way I could make sure that, well, I know I was getting a left and right signal through the cables and all that stuff. That wasn't a problem. But to make sure that my panning is going through the V amp, and then and I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's a stereo. Now that thing can do mono or stereo. So that's why I wiggled the cables and made sure there wasn't anything wrong. It has a separate left and right out, and it could be the V amp is crunching down, doing something. Actually, it's possible. Yeah, there could be something in the V amp and the way the effects are working. It could have been making that panning not work right. Wasn't getting what was expected. I guess I could try panning with my headphones on, just talking to it. That might just tell me right quick if it seems to be working right. Yeah, let me try that. I won't be able to play it for you, but I can, at least not easily. I'm not going to go through a bunch of that again. So, let me turn on the headphones. Check 1, 2, check. Hello, check. All right, now I can hear myself on the headphones. Now let's see if I can pan. Yep, right. Oh, they work perfectly. Left, center, right, center, left, mid left, center, mid right, hard right. Okay, it works perfectly. So it must be something I hadn't considered that my problem with panning, maybe my whole problem. Now that's that's a mono signal. Like I was saying, you can pan mono signals. That's the mic, the SM58, which is a mono signal, and I can pan it left and right. Okay, so the mixer itself, going out the headphones, is perfect on the panning. Well, now I'm a little less worried. I think it may have to do with the something how the V amp interacts with it. It's not straight up left and right. It's a guitar amp primarily, but it does tell you even in the instructions how to use it the way I'm using it as a mic, compressor, noise gate, and effects. It has a few just for mics and miking and stuff, but there is a lot of ifs, ands, or buts about how you have that thing wired up and what effects you're using as to where they are on the left and right scale, you know, because it's made to record with, but what they set it up for is you have one set of effects going to your guitar amplifier, and then you can have, you know, you say the left going to the guitar amplifier and the right going to your computer or whatever recorder you're using, and it would say be dry, and then you can add your effects later, or it can have just a certain amount of effects, and there's just endless possibilities. So that's why I'm saying I'm not quite sure what it does do when you're just using the mic. It's not doing the, you know, like it would for the guitar, but yeah, I'm not quite sure. That might be why I'm not getting the desired effect with the panning. But okay, that makes sense there. But why, when I plug into my left, you know, left and right, or 3 and 4, 5 and 6, left and right with the music, why did it not forget about the panning? Why did one kill the other? That doesn't make sense. Okay. The level, the clip, the tape. Okay, so I got lucky and got right to what I was interested in, but FX, balance, and level adjustment. Okay, now let's see if there's anything about... No kill. Stereo, there should be a lot about stereo. Sterio. How you spell stereo? Let's look over here and get it. Streo. I always spell stuff like that wrong. Okay. Stereo channels. Well, I already looked at that. Let's see. Equalizer. Balance, level, and adjustment. Let's see. Let's go to the next entry for stereo. Balance? I don't see anything about balance. Do I? Oh, I see. The stereo channels have balance. Oh. So it's not pan. Okay, so the mic channels have regular pan, left and right. Now let's see, the balance may be different. The balance control determines the levels of the left and right signals are relative to each other. Other before both signals then are routed to the main stereo mix bus. If a channel is operated in mono via the left line input, this control has the same function as the pan. Okay, so used in the mono channels. Oh, well, it wasn't doing anything I expected it to do when I had them wired left and right. But when I wire mono on channels, whatever they are, 3 and 4, probably 3 and 5. I don't know if it tells you what channel. No, it just probably left and right, so it's probably 3 is left and 5 is right. I mean, I can't. anyway, it's probably 3 and 5 that since I have them both in the left right now, and if that's the way I'm planning on using it, because it's the only way that seems to give you actual stereo, actual get your left. I mean, if you plug in left and right on either one of those channels, those stereo channels, then left gets killed as soon as you plug in the right. That's what's happening when I use mono inputs. What I mean when I say mono inputs, I mean TS, tip sleeve. When I use those, which is the rights. I mean your RCA. That's one. Each side is two. It's a stereo cable, but one side, the right's mono and the left side's mono as far as the tip sleeve. And then if you have a stereo connector, then it's tip ring sleeve, and that's right and left within the same cable with the ground. Tip is usually ground. That's what it is in these cases here. And no, wait, it's the other way around. The sleeve is usually ground. The tip is the positive. But yeah, that still doesn't say anything about why. Anything that tells me anything about why when I plug in. Unless that causes phase canceling. But that's what I thought was the whole point of a stereo channel, is to be able to plug in a music input, a left and a right, into the same channel. That's the way they used to be. I've used them. Plugging them in, well, it wasn't hurting. Usually when you get phase canceling, you can tell because they both, one channel will be just nearly gone and the other channel will go down in volume the instant you plug the other one in. But what happens here is just the right's really loud and the left is just gone. Level control, let's see, 4 and 10. 4 plus 4 minus 10. Okay, since we switch between +4 and -4. Okay. Now send return effects. Stereo aux return. Now there's a slider, but I don't have a slider. Let's see. Now let's see. Oh, a stereo channel as an aux return path. The effects, you can do that. I didn't say anything about it, but I saw it saying that you could use a channel. So I guess if you use which it would make sense because the stereo channels are looking for a line level signal, not a mic signal. So you could use one of those as an aux return path if you wanted to. Then you would have like a separate channel dedicated to, your effects. Generally, you should turn the effects channel all the way down to avoid undesired feedback. Yeah. Only the left channel is used, aux return. The aux return automatically operates in mono. Use this aux return control to determine how much of the effects signal is sent to the main mix. Oh, then you would use the aux return. Oh, okay. Okay, let's just go back doing. What I was thinking is, if I could find something on how the specific stereo channels work. Let's see. Okay, there's stereo channel. I just read that. All right. I'm going to have to make this a little smaller just so I can tell where I am on the deal here. There. Okay. It's putting a highlight everywhere that it's at, so it's not helping me much. Aux return. 802 only. The stereo aux return connectors are used to bring the output of the external stereo effects device. Wait. On the 802 only, the stereo aux return connections are used to bring the output of the external effects device, whose input is derived from the aux sends, back into the console. If you can instead use these connectors as additional inputs, which is what I was doing. I already knew that from reading this before, or somewhere I read it before. But any effects device will then be able to be brought back into the console via normal stereo channel. Oh, okay. Yeah, if you just had a music thing, but it did the same thing as the 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. If I plugged them both in, the left one died. This does, however, give you ability to use the EQ. Yeah, if you bring your aux returns back into the stereo channel, left and right, then you'd have left and right, and you'd have EQ, because there's EQ on those channels. Of course, it affects both channels at the same time, but that's fine when it's music or something, or it would probably be fine on an effects return too. Gives you ability to EQ it, and that's actually a good thing, because a lot of times after the effects have done their job, they're just what you want, but maybe they're causing just a little feedback, or they're fine at first, and then maybe things get moved around on the stage while they're performing, and it starts feeding back. Well, you can just tweak the EQ a little bit, and because the way we did it on the bigger mixers, we always had EQ available right there on that channel. Usually we did do that. We'd bring our aux back into either like a couple of channels towards the end of the board, up towards the main, or we'd bring it back into the main bus. Like the 3 or the 4 bus, or however many buses we had. There's like usually 4, and then the 2 for the mains. The 2 sliders for the mains. We would group things up into the buses, and usually we would group the effects into a bus. Like sometimes, especially if we well, anyway, a lot of times we would group the effects into a bus so we could control all effects at once, the slider and some, if there was EQ on it. Depends on the board if you had EQ there or not. But anyway, like I said, a lot of times we would bring it back through a channel just so we'd have EQ. And when using the stereo effects as a return path, the FX control of the relevant channel should generally be turned fully down to avoid undesired feedback. Yeah, okay. I just read that a minute ago. Yeah. I guess we're over to the right there. Now here's how the the connectors are. There's where the wires would come in, but here's the sleeve, and there's the tip. So TS, tip sleeve, that's what I'm using. Tip ring sleeve is what's considered stereo, or TRS, which it depends. Like if you're using it from a microphone, it's not going to be stereo. It's just 3 conductors. And but if you're using a stereo channel from a stereo device, then it will be right and left, like that says. Does this one tell you the difference here? Well, that's tip ring sleeve. They're still saying tip ring sleeve because that's how you're supposed to say it, but the balanced. For connection of a balanced and unbalanced plugs, ring and sleeve have to be bridged at the stereo plug. For connection of balanced and unbalanced plugs, ring and sleeve have to be bridged at the stereo plug. They're saying these two, no, they're saying these two need to be bridged. This does not make sense. I've never heard of such a thing. And then here's XLR. Say pin 1, 2, and 3. 1 is ground, 2 is hot, and 3 is cold, or plus VE, negative VE. That's voltage. VE, I'm not sure. I've forgotten. I've seen it before, but I've forgotten what VE means. And then for unbalanced use, pin 1 and 3 have to be bridged. Okay, so that would be an unbalanced. Most mic cables are going to be balanced, the top one. But you could, for instance, if you had an unbalanced microphone, then you would have, and it may have an XLR, but it's this kind of XLR. That will fool you and catch you sometime. Say like your old Radio Shack microphone, if it doesn't say balanced, if it's a high, what I'm trying to say, if it's a high impedance microphone, then it's going to be, and if it does have an XLR instead of a 1/4 inch, then it's going to be wired like that. And if your mixer's like this one, it should just know and it'll be fine. But some of the olden days, you would have to know, you might end up with a problem and have to know enough about the wiring to figure all that out. So, especially, I started mixing about the time they begin to come out with smarter mixers, like the Mackies that I love so much. They were smarter and they got better and better about sensing. They sensed the signals and did what needed to be done. Some of the other mixers that were older that I did mix on sometimes, some of them were much more expensive, but they were older, and you had to know what to plug into them, where, or else you was going to get in real trouble. You would end up with phase canceling and all kinds of crazy things going on and not knowing where it's coming from. Okay, then that's something about the section on. Oh, that took you to stereo channels, I guess. Let's see. Oh, I didn't know. I thought that looked like it was a link, but now I don't know where in the world I am. Stereo channels. I already read all that. Okay. Yeah, this is where I started. Both inputs will accept unbalanced jacks. That's what I was doing, and I was not getting, when I plugged in the other one, it was canceling. Now I'm doing, what have I done now? Oh, I put a plus in the find, and it did something crazy stuff there to my, what I really want was back to where I was. I want stereo channel. I don't think I'm going to find anything else to help me. Yeah, I've already looked through the FX sins. I've already looked through that. Yeah, I just got through reading that. Okay, so I think I'm getting to the end of it, because see, that's just a, what is that? Mono input specifications, just telling you the frequencies and all that. Yeah, okay. And I accidentally, well, I clicked on all those lines because I could tell they were a link. It did take me to that section, but it's this section here I've already been to. Okay, so that's it. All right, so I'm going to close that. And I'm going to do one last thing before I have to run off, because I have to have a break, and I'm tired and need to quit anyway. I'm going to see if I can do a search on, I should have probably left that manual open so I could copy and paste the mixer, but once that, let's see what else. Yeah, I have some previous research on the, well, it's taking forever to come up. Previous research on this thing, from when I first got it and everything. Whoops. Yeah, there it is. Oh, you kidding me? One Google search? Oh, manual. That's all I thought I needed. Well, that's all I needed at the time. Somewhere I have a lot more from when I was comparing them and everything, but before I bought it, but yeah, Behringer Xenyx. That's what I was thinking is. That ain't what I wanted. Keep getting my fingers on the wrong keys. Guinness. Maybe just something. I'm trying to not get too many words. Yeah. Right kills left. Oh, there's my favorite. The EV blog, Dave Jones. All right. Let's see. With the smallest problem, one channel works. I have no experience repairing mixers. Okay, the input only works on the left channel. The right channel has no output, and the graphic only shows. Oh, okay. So I never get on the blog. I watch Dave's videos. This is his actual blog. It's called his YouTube channel is called EEV blog. Yamaha has good ones now. Back when I was mixing in the 90s, Yamaha was the bargain basement brand. It was third or fourth. It was to me, it was fourth to Mackie, Behringer, PV, and then Yamaha. And one time in about 97, 98, I got hired to mix for a small club. And that we're going to do Christian bands, and the guy, he was already a dance club, but he wanted to start doing that and do bands, and he took me to Guitar Center and I helped him pick out a whole sound system, but he was on a budget, so we ended up with Yamaha speakers, Yamaha cabinets, and all they did was distort. At least they didn't quit or blow up. We couldn't get crown amps. We had to get QSC amps, and they distorted, and they would shut themselves down if they got overdriven. And the only thing he had good is he already had some huge, what they call Black Widow, PV Black Widow subs, because this was a dance club with thumping bass. So we used those. They rocked. But for the... As a matter of fact, they rocked so bad that it bothered the neighbors in the other buildings next door, and so we ended up turning one of them off. That and it was causing feedback so bad trying to mix live mics and all that. See, they'd only been using like a little DJ mic, which he mostly kept turned off, and then records, real vinyl, they had real DJs in there. Sometimes they played music, but then I had a whole separate. We ended up tying in everything together. The mix amplifier wise, but I had a Mackie 1602, the brand new one of that year, and I had third octave EQ that was, what was it? I think it was a Lesis. Yeah, we couldn't get. I think we had one DBX compressor and two Alesis compressors, half rack compressors. The DBX was a stereo left and right, so I could have. So I had monitor EQ, I had house EQ. I forget how I wired it all up. And he bought a little rolling case to put it all in, so that was really nice. And we had bought a Snake, and it was really cool. That's the only time I got to go buy a whole sound system. But anyway, they're always fighting. The guitar amps that a lot of the bands brought in had more power than we could push through those Yamaha speakers. And even though they were rated, what they were rated at, they would not handle. So yeah, let me see. Faders give up and behave strange. Very. Yeah, there's always somebody that says give it up and buy a new one, and then there's other people that get the idea, okay, the guy wants to repair it. He's not asking for your life advice. He's asking for technical advice. He wants to fix the thing. How do you fix it? There's always the snotheads that got to say that kind of stuff. Always. I don't care what it is. And usually most of these things you do it just because you want to, because you want to learn, or just because you want to save something from the trash bin, you know, or whatever, or you want to help a friend out, or whatever it is, or somebody, yourself, or someone that doesn't have enough money to buy a new one, you know, it doesn't really matter. You want to do it. That's all that they need to know. They don't need to say that right there. So then the next one, oh, it is the same person at least. So at least they did say, okay, you know, it. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense. Just get another one. But he said, okay, so if you're just wanting to do it, here's something. Didn't really say much, but yeah. So anyway, that threw me. That one comment threw me off on the stories. But I don't know, Dave. I really, man, I've tried. You know, I've always wanted to learn about component level electronics repairs, being able to repair things and stuff. That's what I would always wanted to do since I was a kid, is repair things that were broken or weren't working quite right. And boy, he knows how to do it all, and he makes the best. He's one of the best teachers I've ever watched on video. And he takes the really complicated stuff and just just breaks it down into a way that makes sense, even if you're not an electronics engineer, if you're just somebody just interested like me. So anyway, sometimes he'll fix things. A lot of times most of the time he just takes them apart and looks them over and tells you what he sees in there and what he thinks of it, you know. He's an electronics engineer and has been for, I guess, basically ever since he was young, you know. I think he always says something like, I've been doing this for 30 years or something like that. But anyway, there's all kinds of advice here, but this is just people, you know, on his blog talking back and forth. I don't know. Like I said, I don't read the blog. I watch his videos. I don't know if he rings in there and says much or not. He mentions it sometimes. Sometimes he'll say, I found an interesting discussion on my blog. Here it is, and he'll show it, you know. But this is not what I'm looking for, I don't think. Here's something. Yeah, the word killed came up once on that page. That's probably interesting, but it's not what I'm looking for. That's just where you buy them. Problem selecting output and monitoring different channels. No, you can't track me. If somebody wants to know how to do something, why is there static in the output? Well, if it's the cable, then it's a bad cable. If it's in the mixer, then go over there on Dave's EVV forum and see if you can find out. They'll probably tell you about another one. Anyway. Why am I told to DJ in mono, not stereo? Well, we won't go into that right now, but I could answer that. Oh, this is an Alesis. Alesis used to be the bargain. Also, I don't know if I said that, but I forgot about it. Alesis didn't. I don't think they made mixers back then when I was mixing, but never saw one. I saw compressors, EQs. They were the bargain basement. They functioned, but they weren't very good. I think maybe they're a little better now than they used to be from what I see in the reviews. There's nothing. Oh, channel fader kill. Hmm. Yeah, I never thought about that driver update. See, they're not putting out new drivers for it because it evidently has a USB or something that needs a driver. I mean, I mixed with analog mixers. I remember automated mixers that computers could. They weren't really digital. They were analog mixers with computer control. I remember it was pretty cool. They had. I remember one guy of a big show. He traveling on with a big popular band. They were mixing, and I was just talking to him. Actually, I kind of helped a little bit too. They let me hang out with him, at the console, and I got to learn some stuff. But anyway, he had a desktop he was bringing along with him because laptops were so expensive back in the 90s. And traveling around, it would rattle it around, and it wouldn't always want to boot up right. It was giving trouble booting up. And, well, this was after I knew something about computers a little bit. Well, I didn't know much. I just common sense. But anyway, he would hook up the computer to the console. It was a big one, too. Maybe like 48 or more channels. Big and heavy. I remember that. Back in those days, they were big and heavy if they had very many channels. And he got it working. It took him a little fiddling with it, but all his programs were in the computer, all his memory. And then once he turned it on and got it talking to it, there were actual little, I guess, servo motors or some type of motors in there that would actually move the sliders to the position that had been stored in his program. And so it saved him a lot of work because he was mixing the same band every night or every few nights, every weekend or however they did it. I'm sure they had some travel days in between, but I can't remember who that was. I won't just throw out a name because it worked at so many different shows, not just the ones I mixed. Could have been several different bands, but they were popular and would bring a bigger draw than any of the shows I mixed for. I think the biggest shows I mixed for were around 800 people. I say, well, I did mix sometimes when there was like 1,500 people, but usually it was like the guy that was I would mix so he could take a break. I didn't do the whole thing by myself. Is what I'm trying to say. I helped set up, helped tear down, and would mix like after he got the show going. Then he wanted to take a break. Then I would mix, and sometimes he'd get gone an hour or two. But which I didn't mind. I like doing it. But let's see. Yeah, so that's not. I'm not interested in that thing. I guess I should. Well, yeah, there's not much coming up. So I put in my exact mixer. Plugging. Maybe I should put a little more. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I should be a little more. Well, I'm going to go ahead and save those two just because they might be interesting. Select tabs, bookmark tabs. Now I'll get more specific. Plugging in. Right channel kills left. Let's do it that way this time. Okay. Plugging in. Oh, I misspelled it real badly. Okay. Well, that one keeps coming up, but I don't, unless it's in one of the comments or something. Okay. More trouble was when panning channels via USB. Left kills the signal completely. Yeah, that's what's happening to me. Right overloads the output. I'm guessing panning circuits are from another model with buses, and they didn't bother to configure it for USB. Okay. Well, my break I needed to take is absolutely now with no exception. So I'm going to go because I don't know what I'm going to find and how long it would take. So I'll see you later.